Hey gardeners, it's Grace here at Colonial Gardens. It's week 10, our final week of our learning gardens, and I've got some exciting things for you. But as promised, we have a surprise for you from all the way across the country. Botanical Brian went on a trip and he is out at our tree farm in Oregon and wants to show you guys a little bit about what happens there. Hey Brian, take it away.
Hey fellow Colonial Gardens learning garden growers. Welcome to the beautiful state of Oregon. I am so sorry I wasn't able to be with you guys for the last learning garden, but I know you're in great hands with Grace, and she's going to take care of you and get you finished up with your learning garden, knowing just what to do. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how proud I am of everyone who did the learning garden. You guys did a great job learning and growing with us, and it's been so much fun for me, and I'm so excited for you guys going forward. And if you guys really loved it and you really enjoyed doing the learning garden, then you might think of having a career. So this is what I do all day as I grow things, and I teach people about growing things, and I'm out here in Oregon visiting our amazing growers here in Oregon. Colonial grows a lot of their plants here in Oregon, and I just wanted to show you this beautiful field of trees that we grow right in back of me here. And I just wanted to, again, thank you for the learning garden group that we had this year. Thank you, Grace. It was so much fun working with you, and it was so much fun growing with you guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Brian. I can't wait till I get to go out to Oregon and grow trees out there. So just like everyone who's been growing with us, I want to practice growing more and more. I'm going to be doing these gardens again, and I hope everybody joins me, but I want to talk about all of the things we have learned this session. Our big focus was on pollinators, but there were many lessons along the way. Pollinators, of course, are those friends that help us keep populating our flower population, whether it's bees and butterflies that come and visit to eat nectar and carry pollen around with them, if it's birds that are coming to eat other insects or berries to drop seeds across the area. Those are all pollinators, and there are many more. Look at bats, look at everything across the board. We also talked about phototropism. Do you guys remember phototropism? That's the stretching and leaning towards the light. And we can see instances of that here, right? The stretching comes in with some of our plants. Some of these plants didn't get put in the sun quite as much, so they're leaning and stretching a little more towards the light. This is a perfect example. This guy isn't stretching so much, but definitely leaning towards the light so that it can get all of the sun that it needs to photosynthesize, which is not a word we really talked about, but photosynthesizing is taking energy from the sunlight and turning it into food for the plant. What else did we talk about? We talked about nutrients or fertilizer. We used alpaca poop. Do you guys remember visiting the alpacas? We talked about alpaca poop, and we all fertilized with alpaca poo. Everybody fertilized, and it helped our plants grow. This garden got a little less fertilizer than this garden, and so it's a little smaller, or a lot smaller in the case of the parsley. This parsley looks ready to harvest over here, whereas these are so much smaller. Right? We talked about spacing and how to plant things. So as we planted, we divided our gardens into thirds, and we planted seeds in holes, about 6 holes, 1 or 2 seeds per hole. And then we came through, and Brian did a great job of spacing his plants. I, on the other hand, I get excited and I get a little sloppy and a little seed heavy. So we had to thin everything in my garden out so that there would be enough room for all of the plants. And the reason we need enough room is so that we don't experience too much phototropism, right? Not too much fighting for sun. We also don't want the roots fighting for too many nutrients or too much alpaca poop, right? Everybody should have their own share of poo or food and nutrients. Other things that we talked about were unfriendly visitors, and we squished some bugs that were unfriendly visitors. We got to see spiders that are neutral or beneficial. We talked about some of these being edible. And here's what I want you to take away from this today, is that you can harvest from your garden. It's not just for our pollinator friends, but when we harvest, let's do it responsibly. So this is a great time to ask an adult for help. I have snips, you can use scissors. ask your adult for help, and we're going to harvest some things. So I'm going to harvest from this garden some parsley, and here's how we do it. I like to pull everything that I'm not harvesting to the side and go low down and cut at an angle. I'll do that again for you guys to see. You want to get everything out of the way, go low down, cut at an angle. You can have just a little parsley, or you could harvest about half of this and still leave enough for your pollinator friends. Remember all the things we've talked about to do with parsley. You can eat it fresh like it is, but it's probably a little overwhelming in taste. So cutting it up small and sprinkling it on top of pasta or chicken or eggs is going to be phenomenal. Okay, fennel. We talked about fennel. You harvest the same way, right? Pull it back, cut it at an angle. The whole thing is edible. I really like the soft fronds. What you will see though is that this, we'll actually move over to this garden so you can start to see, if you leave your fennel for a few more weeks, all of the lower part of it will actually start to turn into what we call a bulb, a fennel bulb, and will form this big white area, and then you can eat it more like a vegetable instead of an herb. So you'll have to I'll have to thin these out. They're way too close together. If I leave one or two in here, then I can eat the bulbs of the plant instead of just the fronds or the leaves. And then a really lovely, exciting thing is that you can have your own fresh flower bouquet without bringing the whole garden inside. You can have these flowers sit on your table. So, and they also make great gifts, especially for moms and grandmas. But everybody loves fresh flowers. So how do you harvest a fresh flower? You decide which ones you would like in your vase, right? So I don't want to take this pink one because I think it's a little small. I love how spaced out the petals are on this white one. And I want to make sure that I leave some flowers here for the pollinator friends, but I'll go down, far down, and cut just above a leaf node. And I might even get more growth out of this plant. It's already got another bit growing here. I made room for sunshine to hit this and it can keep growing, right? And I would cut off any extra stems and pull off any leaves, and you harvest a few of these and drop them in a vase. You just don't want any of these leaves sitting in the water because then they'll just fall or deteriorate and not be so fresh. So you would harvest a few flowers and drop them into a vase. I think another fun thing to talk about is if you cut your fennel long enough, you can use that as some greenery in the vase. I'm sorry, parsley or fennel, either one. So again, we talked about a lot of things, pollinators and how we get new plants. We talked about plant parts, right? The stamen, the stomata, the ovaries, the pollen. So many lessons were learned. I want to hear your favorite lessons. I'll still answer questions. Botanical Brian will still answer questions. And come back and grow with us again. In the fall, we'll be having our edible garden and we'll grow really tasty things that are going to be great to harvest for Thanksgiving dinner.